The Brian Crabtree Show on Demand is brought to you by the Cobb Chamber of Commerce. Achieve more. CobbChamber.org. The Brian Crabtree Show, live in Atlanta, afternoon starting at 4 on Biz 1190, Biz1190.com, and the Biz 1190 mobile app.
Brian Crabtree. The Brian Crabtree Show.
All right, it's great to have you. We'll talk about Apple's new iPhone, the $1,000 behemoth with an edge-to-edge screen, facial recognition, 30,000 LED dots all over your face, and that new Apple Watch that, you can use it as a cell phone, but only for about an hour before it goes dead. Are these great new groundbreaking products or just more duds in the technology sector to drain your bank account? We'll get to that after our next guest. The hacking of Equifax, 143 million records. More than likely you are included, and even if not, you should assume you've been breached somewhere. We talked to Michael Doherty about ultimately, in the end, what you can do. And you're going to be surprised at what this is. What you can do to ensure that if you've been breached, which you likely have, that you don't lose your dough, your cash, your money in your bank account. That's ultimately our concern, staying in control. Michael Doherty, author of the book Devil Inside the Beltway and Cyber Defense Magazine writer and expert.
Good to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So this Equifax security breach, I thought of you. I mean, 143 million records, poof, gone into the hands of criminals, and looks like they're going to give people a halfway, or better yet, put half-ass security measure. It's a product Equifax already sells, and doesn't look like there's a big deal from the federal government on this. You had 7,500 records stolen from your business many years ago, LabMD. They practically shut you down. What gives here?
Well, Congress is theater. They don't do anything long term. They've got the attention span of a tweet, and they're afraid of anything in science or medicine because that's true accountability. And they live in a land of smoke and mirrors, and there's no such thing as truth, and there's no such thing as falsehood. So this is the ultimate thing they're afraid of. And so this creates a real terrible situation because they've done a very lousy job of creating the environment for business to go in and start solving the problem. Business didn't start running towards solving this until the Sony hack, when actual executives and boards were threatened with their jobs and liability. And so we're very, very behind in getting any type of proactive solutions. And I hate to say this, but this really isn't Equifax's fault until proven otherwise. This happens to everybody all the time, everywhere, anyhow. It's the status of the world. It's like faulting someone for getting cancer. We are in a very weakened state when it comes to cybersecurity, industry-wide, worldwide.
Well, that's a humble argument on your part, and I can agree with you there. I mean, obviously, that would be to the tune that what happened to your business. You got hacked. The FTC came in. They cost you over $5 million in legal fees, and you write about this extensively in the book, The Devil Inside the Beltway. By the way, Michael Doherty's with us, cybersecurity expert. But at the same time, my point is not really to beat up Equifax. My point is to beat up the government for the double standard. They treat smaller and medium businesses like you, but other kind of quasi-government entities. Let's face it, Equifax is almost like an extension of the government. They're like the IRS is to our revenue and our income. They are to our credit what the IRS is to our salaries. It's sort of this big behemoth sitting over here we all have to deal with, and you would think with that kind of power they could keep their records safe, but you're saying no one can.
Well, look, the Equifax is a very cash-rich company that makes a lot of money that's in a real restricted marketplace. They don't have a lot of competitors. They got 0 competitors, and basically everyone uses all 3 of them. So in that case, they make a lot of money, and there's a lot of things to do. However, you've got a situation where people can attack from other jurisdictions and other countries with absolutely no accountability whatsoever. You have technology that's changing all the time, so even the companies that make the technology don't know of the vulnerabilities. So what is anyone, big or small, supposed to do when the manufacturer of the software you're using doesn't even understand the weaknesses themselves? So you have to become an expert. So I'm not excusing them because I don't know what was done or done yet. So far, though, it's not flagrant. Just like Blue Cross Blue Shield that lost $80 million is not flagrant. What is flagrant is the government, because with my situation, actually, just for the record, we didn't lose anybody. The government agent came in and took it and said we lost it, and the next book will show it was never out there. It was taken by government agents and held by the government, but it was never lost or out of control out in cyberspace. That's how much of an attacker the government is, because the agencies are just a bunch of lawyers that know nothing about technology. And until we get to the bigger picture, this is going to keep on happening.
That's an interesting twist on your story, because I guess that's a nuance of your story, is that the government actually sort of framed you. That may be too strong of a word, but I think it's useful.
No, they
here.
did.
They framed you in order to.
It's very unbelievable. People don't believe it when it comes out of my mouth. So people didn't start believing it until after 10 years. People didn't start believing it until the court said it in oral argument in June of this year. People don't hear it when I tell them, because they think it's me being angry.
Yeah, well, after this many years, you tend to calm down and you start to look at things for what they are. The government is corrupt. The government hasn't done what it needs to do. I'm not sure what it can do, so perhaps you have some ideas. What can the government of the United States do with these Equifax?
Well, I actually think Israel is a great role model. Israel, there's no country in the world that has more defensive necessity or skill than Israel. And what Israel has done is built a phenomenal relationship between the government and technology incubators. So they support them, they feed them like it's a garden, and they let them run. That is not what you see from the U.S. government. That is what you never saw from the Obama administration. What you see from them is using technology for their own political advantage, using technology, getting the technology CEOs for a photo op in a meeting once every 5 years, which is a joke.
Well, as you're saying all this, you're painting a picture, and I believe you, that basically our government is almost against our businesses, and our people and our government are not in bed together. It's almost like the government is the enemy in many ways. And they're not interested in really fixing the problem, because it's with the problem that the government's more empowered. If they keep the people in fear, if they keep businesses in turmoil, then the government's always here to help at that moment, so to speak, here to help. And that gives them more power than just being a partner. If you're a partner, then that means you have to be, I don't know, a little bit more of a relationship has to develop, a little bit more of a proactive mentality, whereas with the government, it's more punitive. I think that's really the issue. So most people stay away from the government. You get them in bed with you in the United States, and all of a sudden, they're just in the way.
Correct. That's exactly right, because what the government has become, people don't understand that the government is mostly bureaucrats and very few elected officials. And the bureaucrats are just there for job security and no accountability. And they're not going to give that power up, because they don't know what they do for a job if they didn't have that. And so you've got these people with no experience. This is why people like Anonymous and DEF CON members and grassroots dark web technologists hate the feds. They hate them because they're powerful combined with stupidity and incompetence.
Now,
lack of accountability.
I have a question, Michael. I've got a question. Michael Doherty with us, author of the book Devil Inside the Beltway and a cyber defense and security expert. Have you checked Equifax's website, the EquifaxSecurity2017.com, I think it is, to see if you were hacked?
Yes. Yes, I have, and it shows that I am. They don't say that word exactly. They say, you perhaps could have been. Please check back a couple of days for your freebie.
So what is it that Michael Doherty, being the expert in cybersecurity at this point, what does Michael Doherty do when he discovers that he could have been breached by the Equifax hack? What can you do as a consumer?
Well, I assume I was already breached anyway. I always assume I've been breached because we don't know when we've been breached. So I first of all, I use charge cards pretty much only. That don't have any, where I'm not responsible if there's any false charges. And I check my bank account every day. I mean, that's all I do, and I make sure things are in line. And that's pretty much it.
So,
I have no problem applying.
Don't use debit cards, because that's linked to your checking account, and that's almost like writing a check and then you can't get the money back. Use a credit card. And check your bank
Yeah,
account
never
every
use a
day.
debit card.
Yeah, I agree with you. Check your bank account every day. That way, if something's happened, you're right on top of it. Other than that, don't worry about it. Is that good advice?
That's what I do. Because I'm not going to stop living. I'm not going to live in a cave. And it's like, I look at it like when I was growing up as a kid, we never locked our doors, and today I lock my doors. So I have to have door locks, but I don't stop living my life.
That's good advice. Michael Doherty, Devil Inside the Beltway, and, of course, our resident cybersecurity expert. Glad to always have you to unpack these things for us.
No worries, my friend.
The Brian Crabtree Show on Demand is brought to you by the Cobb Chamber of Commerce. Achieve more. CobbChamber.org. The Brian Crabtree Show, live in Atlanta, afternoon starting at 4 on Biz 1190, Biz1190.com, and the Biz 1190 mobile app.